Richard Trenton Chase, born on May 23, 1950, in Sacramento, California, started life seemingly normally. However, as he entered adolescence, severe mental illness began to manifest. He was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia and suffered from profound delusions. He harbored bizarre beliefs that his heart was shrinking and that he needed blood to prevent it from stopping, which became the terrifying genesis of his obsession with the blood and flesh of living beings. Before escalating to human murder, Chase had a history of torturing and killing animals. He would capture small animals like birds or rabbits, drinking their blood and consuming their flesh. He was frequently seen naked and covered in animal blood, which led to multiple hospitalizations in psychiatric facilities. However, he was often released, either because some doctors believe his condition could be managed with medication or due to a lack of available beds. These releases tragically paved the way for him to commit increasingly horrifying crimes. Chase's crime spree formally began in December 1977. He started with a peculiar door-locking spree. He would try to open the front door of every house he passed. If a door was unlocked, he considered it an invitation to enter and would commit crimes inside. If the door was locked, he would simply move on, believing he was not permitted to enter. Chase's first human victim was Ambrose Griffin, a 51-year-old man, who was shot and killed while unloading groceries from his car on December 29, 1977. Police initially believed it was a random thrill killing, but the true vampire murders began in January 1978. His second victim was Teresa Wallen, a 22-year-old pregnant woman, found dead in her home on January 23, 1978. She had been shot, stabbed, and disemboweled. Evidence also indicated that Chase had drunk her blood, a gruesome detail unprecedented in local crime. The sheer brutality of this incident cemented the chilling moniker of the Vampire of Sacramento. Chase's madness escalated rapidly. 4 days later, on January 27, 1978, Chase broke into the home of Evelyn Miroth, a 36-year-old woman, and committed an even more horrific mass murder. He killed Evelyn Miroth, her 6-year-old son Jason Miroth, and Evelyn's visiting friend Danny Meredith. Evelyn Miroth was severely mutilated, her body disemboweled, and Chase drank her blood and consumed her internal organs. Danny Meredith was shot to death. Additionally, Evelyn's infant nephew, a baby less than a year old, was also killed, decapitated, and his body later placed in a box in a nearby abandoned area. Chase later claimed he needed the baby's blood to cure his illness. Chase's apartment was discovered to be an utterly nauseating scene. It reeked of decay. A blender full of human blood was found. Internal organs were stored in the refrigerator, and blood spatters covered the walls and floor, clear evidence of his horrifying actions. Richard Chase's capture occurred on January 27, 1978, after police received a tip about a suspicious individual in the area of the Miroth murders. When police entered his apartment, they were confronted with the horrors described above, along with overwhelming evidence linking him to the crimes. During his trial, Chase pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. His lawyers argued that Chase suffered from severe schizophrenia and was unable to comprehend the wrongfulness of his actions. However, the prosecution presented evidence suggesting some level of premeditation, such as his wearing gloves during the crimes. Despite his overall bizarre behavior, the jury believed he had sufficient sanity to understand his actions. Ultimately, Richard Chase was found guilty of 6 counts of first-degree murder in 1979 and sentenced to death. He was sent to San Quentin State Prison in California. However, Richard Chase's life in prison did not end with execution. On December 26, 1980, just over a year after his conviction, he was found dead in his cell from what was determined to be an overdose, ultimately a suicide. This brought a quiet end to the vampire of Sacramento. The case of Richard Chase remains one of the most terrifying and repulsive in U.S. criminal history. His acts of cannibalism, necrophilia, and blood drinking earned him the chilling moniker, the Vampire of Sacramento, and serve as a stark reminder of the extreme violence and mental pathology that can arise in humans. This case also fueled debates about the diagnosis and care of severely mentally ill individuals, aiming to prevent such tragedies from recurring in the future.